What if I told you that water-powered engines are about to change everything we know about cars? Sounds like science fiction, right? But it's not. Ford, General Motors, GM, and Toyota are developing engines that can use water and its derivatives as fuel, promising efficiency and environmental benefits that might leave electric cars, which have been the pinnacle of innovation so far, behind. Before we dive into what this could mean for the future of cars, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We're always bringing you the latest news on cutting-edge technologies, and you won't want to miss it. Shall we begin? When we talk about water-powered engines, it's important to clarify that we're not talking about using pure water as fuel. The term actually refers to technologies that use water components, like hydrogen, to generate energy. Ford, for example, is investing in an engine that uses hydrogen directly, called aquapower. The idea is to burn hydrogen instead of gasoline or diesel, which in theory could eliminate carbon emissions. Sounds promising, right? But here comes the first big question: is this really as efficient as it seems? Burning hydrogen still produces some emissions, like nitrogen oxides, which can be harmful to the environment. Plus, producing pure hydrogen is no easy task. It usually comes from processes that use a lot of energy, which raises the question: is that energy coming from clean sources or fossil fuels? And that's just the beginning. Let's take a look at how other automakers are exploring this technology. While Ford is betting on hydrogen, Toyota is going in another direction. Along with GAC, a Chinese manufacturer, they're developing an engine that uses liquid ammonia as fuel. Like hydrogen, ammonia promises to reduce carbon emissions, but it has its own challenges. For starters, ammonia needs to be handled with great care because it can be toxic if mishandled. And here's another important question: will consumers be willing to deal with the complications of new fuels like ammonia? Imagine a future where, instead of fueling up with gasoline or electricity, people have to handle chemicals like ammonia. Sounds complicated, right? On the other hand, Toyota is betting that over time, these technologies will become easier to use and safer. It's a race to see who can not only innovate but also make these innovations practical for everyday life. Now, what's really intriguing is how these new technologies will impact the electric car market. In recent years, it seemed like the future of vehicles was set. Electricity was going to dominate the roads, with brands like Tesla leading the way. But with these new water-based and ammonia-based engines, are electric cars now under threat? Here's the irony: while everyone was betting everything on electric cars, with massive investments in batteries and charging stations, these new technologies could emerge as a cheaper and more efficient alternative. Think about it: if a hydrogen or ammonia engine can really offer the same level of performance with less environmental impact and lower costs, what's the future for electric cars? Will giants like Tesla be able to adapt quickly enough? On the other hand, it's important to remember that electric cars already have a solid foundation, with years of research and development. They're more efficient in converting energy than most combustion engines, including these new ones. So, even if water-powered engines are promising, the competition will be tough. Consumers will want to know which offers more long-term benefits in terms of cost and performance. Now, let's dive into the numbers. In terms of efficiency, electric vehicles clearly have the upper hand when it comes to energy conversion. They can convert about 60% to 80% of the electricity from the battery into motion. This is much better than traditional combustion engines, which can at most achieve 30%. And of course, if the electricity comes from renewable sources, like solar or wind, the efficiency can get even higher, reaching 72%. Now, what about hydrogen-powered engines? They aren't quite as efficient. Hydrogen engines, when we talk about fuel cells, can convert about 40% to 60% of the hydrogen's energy into motion. This means that overall, electric cars still have an edge in this area. But as I mentioned earlier, it all depends on where the hydrogen comes from. If it's produced sustainably, that efficiency gap could be offset by the ease of refueling and longer range. As for the environmental impact, electric cars have the advantage of producing zero emissions during use. But as we know, battery production can have a significant impact, especially when it comes to mining rare metals like lithium. And this is where new hydrogen or ammonia-powered engines might have an edge, as they could, in theory, reduce the reliance on these materials. Still, the key lies in how the fuels are produced. If hydrogen is made from clean sources, it could be a viable alternative. If not, we're just shifting the problem elsewhere. So, what can we expect from the future? The truth is, no one has a crystal ball to predict which technology will dominate. It could be that electric cars continue to evolve and become even more efficient. It could be that water or ammonia engines gain momentum and become consumers' preferred choice. Or, who knows, we might see a combination of both technologies. What we do know for sure is that the automotive industry is in a state of transition. And, as with any major change, there will be winners and losers. The automakers that can adapt fastest to the new market demands, both in terms of sustainability and efficiency, will have the upper hand. What do you think? Is the future electric, or are we on the verge of seeing a new revolution with these water-powered engines? Don't forget to leave your opinion in the comments, and of course, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any updates. Let's keep following this transformation together. The big takeaway here is that while electric cars have seemed like the future for the past few years, innovation doesn't stop. Hydrogen or ammonia-powered engine technology might be the next big wave, but there are still many challenges to overcome. And of course, it all depends on how these new technologies are accepted by the public and how automakers adjust their strategies. In the end, what matters is that we're moving towards a more sustainable future. Whether through batteries, hydrogen, or ammonia, what we want are cars that get us where we need to go without harming the planet.